What's your favorite scary movie?
Okay, so hello.
Hello.
That's it. That's the intro.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, I can do that again if you
I
want.
literally said, I don't have a formal one of these.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's probably
Done.
easier to not have a formal one.
I don't see the, like, if you're listening to my podcast, you know what it's about.
True.
Done.
That's right.
There you go. So, yeah, we're talking horror movies, and firstly, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
My name is Buddy Watson. I'm a huge film fan, game fan, music fan, a fan of all things pop culture, I guess. Wrestling, but film is kind of more so my forte, and I have a special kind of place in my heart for horror movies in particular, and it's specifically the one we're going to speak about today.
Woo!
I can't wait.
Yeah. So, the thing I'm going to try and do with this podcast is that you need to introduce the movie as if the listener has never even watched this movie ever before.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's so tough. I've seen it so many times, though. So
Should be easy.
basically, the movie Scream is about a serial killer who is terrorizing young teens from a local high school and town via stalking methods by calling them up and kind of quizzing them with particular horror movie tropes and genre questions, and then stalking and kind of killing them off one by one in a real like predatory type fashion. And the town is overcome. They have to go into curfew, and they're trying to figure out who it could be, because it's specifically someone that could possibly be in going to the school that all these students are going to and getting killed off by. And there's an local investigator, Gail Weathers, who is played by Courtney Cox. She's kind of taking it upon herself to team up with some of the police in the town, particularly one Deputy Dewey, played by David Arquette, former WCW champion and a noted actor. And they kind of team up together to try and kind of solve the mystery and find out who's doing this in the town. And it kind of relates to one of the main characters, Sidney Prescott's kind of past and her backstory with what she's dealt with in her life. So, yeah, I hope that is a good summary.
That was an amazing summary.
Off the top of my head.
I loved it. So, what is your your first memory of this movie? The first time you ever watched it.
This is great because the film came out in 1996. I would have been 10 years old at the time, or possibly 9 years old, depending on when it released. But my nan and pop, one of our traditions was to go to the Blockbuster or Video Easy or whatever the store was at the time and get a bunch of movies, and Pop would generally choose the new releases, and then I would have my own kind of reign over the weeklies. I could get 5 weeklies, and the next week it was kind of rinse and repeat, and that was kind of our week/weekend entertainment. And I remember that Pop was the actual one that picked this one out himself, Scream, and
oh god,
he was a big horror movie fan, and that kind of rubbed off onto me, and how he kind of brought me up watching film as well. So he would make me sit down and late at night when Nan had gone to bed, and we would watch Nightmare on Elm Street, we would watch Halloween, Friday the 13th, and all these horrific movies. And as a young kid, I would really get scared and like close my eyes and look away when some of the deaths would happen or some of the nudity would pop up. And my pop, he would always be like, "Oh no, you can watch now. And I'd turn my eyes and be right in the middle of a stabbing or maiming or some kind of gory scene. It sounds very sadistic, but it's so weird that all of that kind of shaped my love for horror. And this, even though I had these kind of prior touchstones with Friday the 13th, all the kind of iconic slasher characters like horror legends, and even Texas Chainsaw Massacre showed me that as well with Leatherface. Even though I had that before Scream, I really feel like Scream was the turning point for my love for horror. And he brought it home from the video store, and we sat down and watched it. And it was so unusual for Pop to kind of get a new horror movie like that. He was always into like thrillers, crime, action, all that kind of stuff. But and we sat down and watched that as a family, and I just remember it really scaring the hell out of me at the time, to think that people could call your house and be outside and kind of stalking you, and they're going to kind of break into your house or kind of just like a, the predator and the prey type of situation, and that kind of tension. It really scared me. And one of the big premises for Pop bringing me up on all these horror movies was it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It can't happen.
Yeah.
So you get your Michael Myers, your Jason, your Freddy, your Leatherface. Well, I guess I didn't really know that true story of that at the time, but they always looked like characters that were in a movie that couldn't be real. Whereas watching something like Scream,
Yeah.
I'm like, these are just everyday people.
This could be
That's
real.
right. In every situation, this looks like it could happen. So I think that was the big moment that kind of that scared me. And it's so funny to say that it scared me at the time, because I've watched this film probably the most out of any movie that I've ever watched. And you're watching it now, it's hardly scary at all. There's a few jump scares here and there, but really for the most part, it's a comedy and a kind of an introspective,
Like a dark comedy.
yeah, like this real cool introspective look at horror films and horror tropes and kind of real meta and being self-aware. So right now, you can watch it anytime as a little bit of entertainment and not think of anything.
Like, this is
yeah,
great.
enjoy it.
And think more about the context rather than what's actually happening.
That's right.
Like these concepts that Craven has been like, it's kind of like his look on the slasher genre and being like, well, this is what technically is meant to happen with slasher movies. Like, we're meant to go through these steps and be like, okay, well, this is the first one killed off, and then it's this, and then that happens, and it's, we'll go more into that. But, yeah, it's just, I didn't watch this film until I was, like, 18, 19, because I had watched Scary Movie.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch Scary Movie first? Oh, wow.
So,
I think
Scary
someone else from the Explosion Network, we did Scream a while back on What Do You Want to Watch, and I can't remember who it was, but someone else had the same experience where they watched Scary Movie first. And
it just, I was like, I can't watch Scream now because I've fucking done goofed and watched Scary Movie. And originally, like, I put in our notes that Wes Craven wanted to call the movie Scary Movie. And I don't know why he didn't. I can't even remember if I put that in here, like, why he... No, it doesn't say anything about why he did it, but he changed it to Scream, and then when they made Scary Movie, which is a complete parody of... I just can't get over it, and like the Bobby Baby Dick, where he's got the Polaroid of him in the shower, and they're like, Bobby's got a baby dick, and I was like, well, I can't watch Scream now, because if that's in the movie... Or, like, there's a Bobby character, which is Billy.
Yes.
And I was just like, I can't watch it now because it's Baby Dick Bobby.
Yep. It's so funny seeing some of them scenes being parodied, and then having to see Scream and, like, linking that, oh, this is the scene that they parodied with the beer bottles, or all the other stuff with the, at the start, where he's playing hide and seek, or anything like that.
I like the dad breaking into the room.
Oh, I can't remember that one.
And and he's like, no, I'm just really fucking high.
Yep.
So there's like, and then when that scene happened in Scream, I was like, oh god, it's the stoner dad. And I was like, is he a stoner in this? And that, so it really, I had to give myself time between watching Scary Movie and Scream. And when I watched it, all I could think about was that movie. I was like, oh great, Scream is ruined forever for me. And, but I, rewatched it for the first time in years, because it's such a long movie. It's like, what? Just over 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours, yeah. Almost bang on 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which
And
is quite
so
unusual
I did
for a
rewatch.
horror movie.
A horror movie, yeah, absolutely.
I guess some of the older horror movies
was,
would have been around then, but anything like from the 90s and maybe the mid to late 80s really had that kind of, it's got to be 90 minutes, it's got to be that kind of formula to it, so...
That's it. Which makes sense, because, horror movies, you're doing the same thing over and over again in a lot of them, like the same things are happening, and so I don't think that formula, allows for 2 hours, really. And even, it took me 3 nights to watch Scream on my rewatch, because I was just like, oh. Like, I love it, but if it was an hour and 20 minutes long, it'd be great.
Short and sharp.
Straight to the point. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the movie.
All right, let's do it.
So, let's do it. I don't really remember what town it's in.
Woodsboro.
It's Woodsboro.
Which
there
I think
you
is a
go.
fictional town from memory.
Oh, it'd be interesting if it was a real one, because those kids would be scared.
Well, there was already that controversy about like the ghost face mask and how in real life they had to that was a very popular outfit that people were selling at Halloween stores or costume stores, and they kind of how you had to ban that, and then the kind of uprising like copycats and people trying to do the same thing. Once the movie was released, it would have been even more horrific if this was a real town, and how that would have affected that town and I guess tourism and maybe people flooding it and maybe copycats being in that town. It would have been a nightmare to kind of deal with. So
oh god, I don't even think of knock-on effect. I'm just like, imagine how terrorized those kids would be. But there's so much more to it than that. Look, I'm small town. I'm from a small town. But so we're in Woodsboro, and we find out that young Sydney Prescott's mum has been murdered, and she's obviously depressed. It's coming up to the 1-year anniversary of her death. And I don't really... Is this where... It's the start of the movie where Bobby busts in through the window,
yes, Billy. Billy in this one.
Billy! Sorry, not Bobby Baby Dick.
No, that's right.
Billy.
Yeah, he kind of... busts in. So we open with the Drew Barrymore scene first, and
that's right. I forget all about that, and that scene's iconic.
It's
I just totally ditched that.
It's very iconic, and for me, at my age, however old I was, once again 9 or 10, and I think the big appeal for even Pop from the just looking at the cover and the back, knowing that Drew Barrymore in it would have been a draw for him to get the movie. So I guess for all of us, even my nan, I think really liked Drew Barrymore as an actress, and to see her get killed off at the start was quite a shock for everyone. And that kind of maybe that.
You're like, what?
It worked, yeah. Some of that star power definitely drew in a lot of people. And I never really asked my pop. Maybe I should ask my pop next time I see him. Was that like one of the draws, and why did you hire it? But yeah, it starts with that, and then post that is I guess Billy like being at the window, and already you're like, well, what's he doing creeping around at nighttime? So they're already putting up some red flags.
Yeah, because it's all at the same time, that Casey, Drew's character, is being murdered, and then during that time they're trying to set up that Billy's rocking up at Cindy's.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, it can't be him because he's at Cindy's. So it's fine.
Exactly.
It's somebody else over at Casey's place. But she's making a popcorn. Do you like scary movies?
Yeah.
What are you watching?
Yeah.
And what was she watching? She's watching
The Exorcist, I think.
Exorcist or Nightmare on Elm Street?
No, I think it's Exorcist or Poltergeist for some reason. And
I can't remember because
they comment about how it being a little bit PG and nothing nothing over, kind of like our relationship, kind of only over the clothes or whatever. So when he tries to,
and then in Scary Movie it's her with a friggin'
oh, the locks and
yeah,
that's right. Yes, I remember now. Oh my god, I haven't seen that since the movies probably.
I know every word to that movie. That and The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. Oh,
they're my two movies I know every word to.
It's funny because Scream would be one of those movies that I could pop on and do a like quote along with, which is something they do in Scream 4, watching the old Stab movies, which is once again another meta reference. So.
Oh, there's so many, isn't it? And they pay homage to so many horror movies in this, and I think this was like the last horror movie that Wes Craven ever did, or last slasher anyway. Yeah. I'm thinking I read that somewhere. Because
I don't know what else outside of like 2, 3, and 4. I don't know what else he did.
Well, he did all of the Scream movies, so he's the only director who has ever directed a complete horror series. So he made sure he did all
which will actually come to an end real soon, because I don't know when Scream 5 is coming out. I think it's possibly next year.
There's going to be a new one.
Or the year after. Yeah, so yeah, it's I don't know. They haven't decided yet whether it's going to be like a soft reboot or a hard reboot with characters and everything, but
that'd be amazing.
Courtney Cox and David Arquette are confirmed to come back and reprise their roles, so I'm stoked at that.
Yes. So so Billy is trying to get into Cindy's pants, and they're like, nah, GTFO. And then
just really randomly, I love that because at the time I would have in '96 I would have lived down, I think, in Dapto, Wollongong, and
Dapto.
Dapto. But we would have been like that would have been my first exposure to like Sydney as a city and visiting there and going up
Yeah.
on like 90-minute trips.
You're like, "That's
So when
weird."
I see like Nev Campbell in this and her name is Sydney, I'm like, oh, Australian reference. Like she's named after the Sydney. So that was like silly thing as a kid.
Yeah, I've done stuff like that. No, she was Sydney in Scary Movie, but Cindy in Scream.
No, she's Sydney. She's Sydney Prescott in Scream, and she's Cindy in Scary Movie. I think.
Oh, I thought it was the other way
It's
around.
definitely not the other way around. Sydney Prescott is my favorite final girl.
I don't have a favorite final girl.
Well, Scream's my favorite.
Oh no, it's probably Jessica Biel in Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they did the remake.
That remake is amazing. I love that. I saw that in
Yeah.
cinemas in
Yeah.
2003.
I just listened to a podcast the other day where they were talking about it, and I was like, that remake is so good, but I do love the original, but the remake is brutal. Like, it's so good. That and House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah,
my
I haven't
favorite.
seen that one.
Okay, put that
Yeah,
on your
I'll
list.
chuck it on the watch list.
You gotta watch that, Devil's Rejects, and Hills Have Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes I've seen, but the other two I haven't. If you want to speak to someone about that, you speak to Dylan from Explosion Network. His favourite movies, or one of
Okay.
them was anyway. So
I'll get onto it. So, then the next day, they arrive at school, and Gail Weathers is there. I don't think this isn't where she punches her out.
no, she punches out later on. So this is kind of just sets up that Gail Weathers is this like a really pushy reporter. It's kind of in your face, and I think it's briefly mentioned when Sydney and her friend, why can't I think of her name right now? Tatum, Rose McGowan's character, when they
Tatum,
make a quick reference to like, oh, there's Gail. She wrote the book about your mum's death one year ago, the Woodsboro murders, and how Cotton Weary, who Sydney pointed out in the court case, was convicted basically off her eyewitness testimony, and that she wrote the book kind of questioning that, and Cotton is innocent. So they've already set up that there's kind of some friction
Something going on with that.
there, yeah, and the kind of dogged reporter that Gal is in the movie. So
And I really like her character because she's just that antagonist that you just like, go away, Gail.
yes,
But you're kind of glad she's there in the end.
yeah. In particular,
Like-
with the sequels and kind of her growth as like one of the heroes, but she's still got that annoying thing about her as the reporter.
It's like, I'm female, I've got something to prove. And that's like something I can't stand in a movie. But then I remember it's 1997, and that's probably why that's there. Because that would have been an era where, it was women are strong and powerful, so they've got to work 10 times harder than what, a man would to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. It's annoying. It's just like, she'd be awesome. She's awesome. I really like her character. And so Dewey sweeps in and saves the day.
Yeah, Dewey. Oh, what a
He's
lovable
a-
character Dewey is.
I love David Arquette, so watching him in it, and obviously his wife, Courtney Cox, watching them, that was when they first met, was when they were filming Scream. So it's really interesting to see their characters have a little bit of, flirty going on, and it's like, oh, you two ended up married, but you didn't know that.
Little did they know.
No. And then they got divorced a couple of years later, but still.
Rip.
And so they go into school. I can't remember what happens in school. Oh, they find out that Casey's been murdered.
Yep.
And I don't like a lot of the script I don't really remember until it's like towards the end. So I'm trying to remember like what happens, even though I only watched this last week.
So from there, like Sydney's obviously she's getting kind of PTSD type. Oh, is this happening again? Has this got anything to do with me? She's kind of taken out of school and questioned, and the whole is it Cotton or where's your dad, because he's kind of
Your
he's
not
gone
in
missing
town.
now, and all these kind of questions arise, and some of the friends are not being overly sensitive around her at the time with like Stu and Billy. He makes that joke like leave her alone. I love that at the start of the movie. It's just so goofy for what his character is.
Oh yeah, I remember he has all these jokes, and I'm just like, oh,
He's great. He's awesome. And there's a particular moment at the end where he's like, he's on the phone, he's bleeding out, and he's been revealed as one of the killers, and there's blood everywhere. He's been stabbed. I'm like, I'm getting a little woozy, man. I think you went too deep, Billy. And he's like on the phone.
Yeah.
My mum and dad are gonna kill me. It's like he's still he still thinks he's gonna get out of it, and just that like goofy teen
and then he's gonna
comedy
get
moment. Yeah, it's just
yeah. I think that's like what Scream has been really perfect for those like funny quotes. And that they've even rehashed them, in Scary Movie. So people will hear someone quote it from Scary Movie and be like, oh, that's from Scream.
yes.
And that's what's so cool about it, I think. Like, even though it's a parody, it's still like, oh, people don't know that all this shit happened in an actual horror movie. Yep. And the horror movie is funny as well. So you can just watch the horror movie, which I should.
So hilarious.
And so, this is where the same day Sydney goes home, and she's attacked by Ghostface.
Yes. Yep.
And, Dewey doesn't show up. Tatum shows up. Because Tatum was meant to pick her up.
Yes, that's right.
And so, yeah, she goes over to Tatum's house. And, oh, no, there's something that happens in between.
Yeah, at this point, Sydney receives the call at school. From Ghostface, and it's kind of linking everything together, and then there's suspicion on like Billy and whether it's because Sydney wants to take time away from him at the time, and like with everything that's going
that's where
on.
He's like, get over your mum being dead.
My mum left.
Asshole.
Like, my mum left. Gotta get over. I'm like, yeah, like you idiot.
Your mum's still alive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and she pops up in number 2. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, there you go, Billy. She's fine. Sydney's mum's gone. She dead.
It's so funny because David Swimmer is playing
Teenage
Billy
boys.
in the stab.
Oh no!
The stab.
I don't like him.
I don't really like him either. But he's playing, Billy. I'm pretty sure, and I can't remember who is playing Sydney. Oh, it's fucking terrible. But he's like stupid, or like after that moment, that's reenacting that hallway scene, which is quite serious at the time, but just it's funny how they make it so comedic in Scream 2.
Yeah, and I actually find the guy who plays Billy quite attractive.
Oh, Skeet Ulrich, yeah, he's
Is it? Yeah, he's really
he's fantastic. I really wish he was in more things. I know he was in like Jericho, and he's popped up in a few movies here and there, but he's like on the same stratosphere or level as someone like Timothy Oliphant for me, who was another like underrated person that I'd seen something great in, and I'm like, be in everything. So
just you can do everything. Please. But yeah, he's also very attractive because he reminds me of Crybaby Johnny Depp. And that's why I'm like, yeah, you can stay. And like Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Like they look so familiar, and I think that's why he was probably chosen.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a deliberate choice.
Yeah, I think it might have been, because people would have made that horror connection, like, oh, you look like someone else I've seen in a horror movie.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I'm not a casting director. I should be.
Make it happen.
Skeet Ulrich.
In everything.
And so, Billy is now under suspicion from Sydney. And she's like, I've seen the ghost face mask at my house. You had a knife at my house. And then he gets arrested. He got arrested before he said that shit to her, didn't he?
Yes.
And he called... Yeah, oh my God. See what I mean about it being too long?
Look, I'm going to respectfully disagree
all over
about
the
Scream
shop.
being too long, because I love every moment of it. You're preaching... This is like a top 5 movie of all time for me. Number 3 in my top 5.
All right, go top 5 now.
Top 5. Fight Club, 7, Scream, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and possibly Back to the Future 1 and 2, or 1/2 as a joint movie.
Fantastic. Mine is Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, American Psycho,
Great movie.
and what was the Nightmare? Nightmare Before
There you
Christmas.
go. Look, I can't compete with the horrorness of your list there.
And even like American Psycho is considered a horror movie, and I was like, really?
It's twisted. I don't know about horror, but it's.
I was like, there's a lot of blood, and there's like some bodies in a cupboard at one
Yep.
stage, but
Oh,
horror,
what
I
a
don't know.
movie.
And I've read the book, so I was like, the book was terrifying. Don't read the book.
Oh, well,
It's a lot worse than the movie.
listen to it. Listen to the
just,
audiobook.
Just listen to the audiobook. Don't read the
No.
words. Okay, so let's go. He's in prison. And
Well-
do you know what? I remember what happened
Yes.
now. So she got attacked at home, and then Billy shows up again in the window. Climbs in through the window, and that's when the mask falls out. She gets him arrested.
Yeah, he
Then she goes to...
because I think it's his mobile phone that falls out, and then there's
Yeah.
like tying that all together. The really cool thing about that scene, which I absolutely love, is when Sydney gets the calls. Unlike Casey, who felt more like not helpless, but a little bit more innocent as to what's happening. I guess Sydney has more, the foresight of Casey's death and everything.
Awareness.
But it feels like Sydney's not taking shit, and she's more like standing up and playing along, but to her own kind of rules. And I kind of love that, how she steps
Yeah.
outside and she's, if you can see me, what am I doing? Picking her nose. And this is the first kind of time we also get the did something happen jump behind you then?
Oh my god, my bedroom
Ooh,
door.
scary.
That's
Getting jump scare right now, and they're recording this. But that's one of the first times when they're like, well, if this was a horror movie, she's like, oh, I don't like horror movies because it's always some dumb bimbo getting running upstairs when she should be walking out the front.
But then she's kind of making fun of what happened to Casey in a way, where we're all like, hey, that happened to Casey. Like, she tried to get away and she got killed.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about that is just like when she should be running out the front door, and then moments later she gets attacked and she runs upstairs.
And she's running up the stairs.
So it's
And you're just like, you
it's
idiot.
just fantastic. I can't remember if she tries to go for the front door, but she definitely runs upstairs, which is like
Yeah, because she goes outside onto the roof, or like, because their house is huge. And I'm just like, where are you your house is so
Yeah.
big. It's insane.
But it's definitely-
And then that's when Billy shows up.
It's definitely one
And
of
he's
the
like,
first times they
"Oh."
have like the conversation about like the meta-ness of the horror tropes and everything, and how he what, like with Casey, even just mentioning horror movies and horror icons in a horror movie is quite out there. So
And they always mention like the really great, amazing ones that really defined that genre as well. Like further on, when the stoner character is discussing, like all the rules of horror. Like, this is what happens. And there was actually a horror movie I watched, and I actually talked about it with Betson. The Cabin in the Woods.
I love Cabin in the Woods.
Where they have all the, specific characters, and they're like, I'm the so-and-so. And, there's an order that you die in, and they talk about it as well in the movie.
Yes, that's really meta.
Yeah, and it's just really cool. Yeah. It gets so, like, you don't realise until you're discussing it with somebody that that's what it actually is. Like, you don't really pick up on it unless you're having, like, a genuine discussion about like what's said and what's done, and it's really fascinating. And I think that's why I like horror, because it is such a genre where people are so quick to be like, no, it's just blood and guts and scary stuff, and it's like, it's so much more than that. Like, you don't understand.
And even if it
like,
is some of those movies are those things, then who cares? Like, we don't really need to reinvent the wheel here when it comes to horror. Like, if it's tried, tested, and loved, and people love this specific genre for some of the tropes that are in there, then why not embrace that? And even at this point,
absolutely.
like you said, A Cabin in the Woods and even Scream, to the point where they even poke a little bit of fun at it while still doing it is
Yeah.
even better. And Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, is actually like one of my favorite characters. I think he is my favorite
Oh, really?
character. It's so hard because so many of the characters are so lovable, but the very fact that he's like obsessed with film, he knows all the rules, he works at the movie store, like it's very relatable for me.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people that are cinephiles watching it and hearing him spout out the rules, and even the rules in number 2 that he spouts out, like with Dewey at the diner, it's great. Like he's definitely adds to that meta
cool.
part of it. So
I'm definitely gonna have to watch number 2. It's all on Stan or Netflix. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
two is really good. As far as like ranking the Screams, I don't know like if we're gonna get to there or not, but 1, 2, and 4 are quite good. For me, it's always going to be number 1.
Yeah.
But I would say even 4
Yeah.
or 2, can, if on any given day, can alternate between being the second best one. And then sadly, we have number 3 down below at the very bottom, which is not great. But because I have love for the characters in the franchise, I'll still watch it if it's there. So
I do need to build that like affinity for a series. Like I've watched all of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Like even the really number, I can't remember if it was number 2 or number 3, where it was like heaps of it was really what's the word, campy.
yes, yeah,
And it's just like, what?
it's
I love it, but this isn't the same people that did the other one, is it? This is new.
yeah.
And I really love Freddy Krueger as a character.
Yeah.
I even have a like a little pin, and it says like "Dare to Dream."
Oh my gosh.
And it's like Freddy Krueger on it. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone needs one. But yeah, let's get to the movie. Where were we up to? So Billy's been arrested. So this is about like almost halfway through the movie. Because we've got the setup, the murders have started, but nobody in the group has been murdered yet. So that it all seems to happen like within like 10 minutes of each other.
It's
Like,
definitely
the killing
that
spree?
old school like Western like Tarantino type esque finish where there's like this just massive finale with all this kind of bloodshed towards the end. But the really cool scene we get now is Gal Weathers, like Sydney's trying to sneak out of the police station, and we get the Gal Weathers, like she knows there's a back exit to the police station, and she kind of gets in
smart.
Sydney's face, and then Sydney hooks her. She
her right
says something
one.
about a mother. I can't remember what the line is, but I just remember Tatum later on like reliving it. It's like, bam, Sydney, super bitch. Bitch goes down. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And then this is like one of my favorite scenes, right? Because it reminds me of the scary movie scene. That is basically the
gosh.
same. So Sydney and Tatum are in Tatum's room. So Sydney's at her house now. And the caller comes in, and Tatum mum comes in, and she's like, Cindy, there's somebody on the phone for you. She goes out. It's Ghostface on the phone. So the guy who did the voice for Ghostface on the phone, no one ever met him during the filming or before the filming, like during casting and whatnot, and rehearsals and whatever. They always only spoke to him on the phone. So when they're actually on the phone to him, they're actually on the phone to him. And they're recording that phone call there and then. It's not like they record their bit and then his bit's recorded and then they put
That's
it
so
together.
cool.
No, they're actually having this conversation with him and they never meet him. So how creepy would it be, like, even, like, never seeing this person's face and having these conversations with him? I'd be like, no, I'm out. Done. I'm out of here. And so then Sydney's having a breakdown. She's like, oh my god, he's calling me. He knows where I am. And Dewey comes out. And it's that scene in Scary Movie where it comes out with the vacuum cleaner who's like, told you not to disturb me when I'm cleaning my room.
So good.
Because then later, Tatum's character says, "Mum also said to stop putting your dick in the vacuum
I love
cleaner."
that. That's my favorite part of Scary Movie. So good.
It's such a good movie, and like, but just watching Scream and being like, "Oh, that's that bit." And so, then the next day they go to school and Billy's out, and that's where he says, "Get over your dead mum,"
which is.
And it's just like, it's only been a year, you cockhead.
Yeah, and I love that they kind of create this this kind of red flag. Like, it couldn't have been Billy because he was in the thing, but what about his one call? And she's kind of having these self-doubts, but...
yeah, she's just like, wait a second.
I love that they threw that in the middle of the movie, like, just to kind of throw you off the scent, at least. And
like, I never suspected him.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like,
Well, when I'd first watched it...
Because in Scary Movie, that's not the
ending. Yeah, of course.
So, for me, when I watched it and saw the actual ending, I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
Well, that's good it wasn't spoiled for you then.
It wasn't. It was amazing. I was so stoked. And I think that maybe the Scary Movie directors did that on purpose.
Probably.
So that you wouldn't know what the ending would be. And you'd be like, cool, that's the actual ending.
Yeah, it would have been, two on the nose.
And this is where Cindy goes into the toilet. And Ghostface is in there. And chases her out. And the school shut down. And the principal gets stabbed?
Yeah, principal...
Or it's alluded that he gets
he gets
stabbed.
messed up, yeah.
I can't remember seeing it. I think they cut that scene out.
Yeah, they you just see it in the mirror, I think, with the arm up and the stab, or you kind of hear it. Because he gets killed with the scissors.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I know that the scene of him actually getting stabbed wasn't in the version that I
no, they don't have it in any version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's a really cool reference because, the principal played by Henry Winkler, the Fonz, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's walking back to his office at the time. It's all locked down. And you kind of, you're watching a horror movie. You start to suspect that, this guy's going to get killed off in a minute. But someone makes a noise and it's the janitor and he's like dressed as Freddy Krueger. Where he's with the hat and like the striped things.
The striped jumper on. That was, I was like, yeah.
So that was a really cool little nod, and once again, the self-awareness of Scream and how good it is. But and the poor Fonz gets wrecked.
Now that I talk about it more, I'm like, it's actually a really fantastic movie. Mainly because of how many, little they give to like other
little
horror movies.
winks to the camera.
It's like, thanks for that. Thanks for that. And it's like, only true horror fans are gonna know what these references are. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street was my first horror movie. So when I see that, I'm like, yes!
Yeah, sick.
I love it. So it's like a little jump in my heart, like, oh,
yeah.
I love that. And so they're all heading home now because their school's out. There's a curfew in the town now. And... who's having a party? Who's house?
This is at Stu's house. His parents have gone home. Gone away. So they're having this big party out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It seems like all their houses are really in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, some kind of like...
it seems like one of those
rural,
towns.
small town. Yeah.
And so, Sydney's only going if Billy's not going. And, Billy's not going. Billy's not going to be there. That's fine. So... this is where, like, the carnage absolutely takes off for this film. And, Dewey decides he's tagging along to the party to sit out the front.
Yep.
He's just such a great character, because he's just a bumbling police officer.
He's just...
and it's just...
lovable, innocent.
Yeah.
He's just trying his hardest and...
yeah, he's just a genuine dude.
and see him bumbling around with, like you're saying, like with Gail and his, like, crush on her.
Yeah. I just remember that scene in Scary Movie, though, where Gail, whatever, I don't know what they have her name as in Scary Movie, and she puts her entire finger in his mouth.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Like,
I don't think I've... yeah, see, I don't think I've seen Scary Movie for a very long time.
I'm just like, do you know where fingers go? Ew. And so, but that's why, like, I just remember I can't remember what they call him in Scary Movie, and like their interactions, and I'm just like, oh, that's so weird.
Officer Doofus.
But Officer Doofy.
Doofy.
That's right.
Smell my finger. It's my ass.
Oh, ugh. God.
One of the few lines I
Wonder if
remember.
actually did that. Yeah. Oh, I could. Yeah, I love that movie so much. It's so funny. And so yeah, they've gone to this party, and everybody seems to be there, and the girls are having a good time. Billy shows up, and they decide they're going to go talk upstairs.
Yep, they're going to go Netflix and chill
And-
upstairs.
They're going to go Netflix and chill upstairs.
VHS and chill.
And so, VHS and chill. Oh, I miss those days. Not the chill part, because like I was like 12. That's not okay.
The VHS part.
Just the VHS
Yeah,
part.
when if you wanted to watch a movie, you had to like record on long play or something.
Aww. The good old days where I didn't have a digital collection. I just had a shitload of crap everywhere. Ugh. And so the party's still going on downstairs, and this is where Randy is talking about his
The rules.
horror, the rules of horror. And it's at that time that Tatum has gone out to the garage
Yeah, to get beers.
to get beers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ghostface.
so-
Can you please spare me? I want to be in the sequel.
Yeah. It's so good. Rose McGowan is just fantastic in Scream. She's so vivacious and
Perky.
not even. She's like me, like really sarcastic and cynical and like that is me all the time. And I'm like, you resonate with me.
Yeah.
I get you, girl. And so, yeah. So I've got the horror rules here that Randy goes through. And it's you will not survive if you have sex.
Which they cut to Sydney kind of
not-
having sex at losing her virginity upstairs
Yeah.
with Randy. Oh,
Billy?
Billy, yes. Randy.
I was like,
Randy, whoa, plot twist.
He's in two places.
Randy
at
would wish.
once. You will not survive if you drink or do drugs.
Everyone cheers.
Tatum's-
Yay.
Yep. And Tatum's out getting beers. You will not survive if you say, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Tatum, going to get some beers. Be right back. 4, everyone is a suspect. And then there's the 2 additional rules from the killer, which is you will not survive if you ask who's there. And you will not survive if you go and investigate a strange noise.
Yeah, that's right. That's at the start with when Sydney's like, yeah, why don't you go outside and investigate a strange noise or something? And it's like, yeah, and then he actually goes outside and yeah, hilarious.
And then like Casey, where she turns on the back porch, and her boyfriend's like all dead.
Oh, what's the boyfriend's name again? Oh, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was an R, like Rick or something.
His name wouldn't have to be Steve, would it? Yeah, it's Steve. I just remember the line. Poor old
Is that
Steve.
the Scary Movie one?
No, that's his
Oh,
name.
No, it's not the
That's
Scary
his name.
Movie, where he like turns the light on and it's the gay Cuban guy
Oh,
screaming.
yes.
I just really, oh, and she's like, no, that's so and so, you idiot. And he's like, what?
Man, I've got to watch Scary Movie at some point again.
Oh, I've watched the entire series. Like, I love it so much. And I think it's just a nice reprieve from the amount of horror I have watched.
Nice palate
But
cleanser.
it's just like, yeah, it is. And, it's, it is a like, timeless movie.
Yeah.
One of those. With all horror is timeless. Absolutely. And so, yeah, the boyfriend's, like, his entrails are all
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
aren't
he's
they?
got
like,
it.
Oh, because I felt really sick
It was gruesome.
when I saw that.
And cuts to Casey, who's just strung up with the swing as well, which is we've seen like Casey get stabbed, we've seen the principal get stabbed with the scissors, and bringing it full circle back to Tatum, like the way she is killed is super creative outside of just the normal stabbing and maiming that the Ghostface has been doing the whole movie with the cat. She's going through the cat door and he just like crushes her with the electric door, which is just brutal and amazing.
Probably one of my favourite kill scenes in a horror movie. And I mean, like, I've watched Saw, I've watched Hostel, I've watched, like, a ridiculous amount of exploitation films where a lot of people die, and I'm just like, nah, that's really cool.
It is.
Like, that is cool. And apparently she kept falling out of the
Oh,
door
really?
when they were, like, trying to lift it, and they had to, like, staple her shirt to, like, keep her in the door.
Oh my god.
So that when they lifted it, she wouldn't, like, slip back
wow.
out. Imagine having to do that and worry you're going to break a leg because you're going to fall out the door the wrong way and land funny. Actually maim yourself.
And one really cool, like, cherry on top at this point is, we see Tatum, like, die, and he's kind of, Ghostface is just standing at the door, and the door, he like, opens a little bit, and he just, it's like he's not even moving. He just, like, fades out back into the party.
Oh, I've never noticed
it's really
that.
cool. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the order it happens. I haven't seen... I was supposed to rewatch for this, but I feel like I've seen this movie so many times that I was like, nah, I know.
the first, because nobody knows.
Yeah, and he just, like, pops out the door back into the party. It's like,
Yeah.
surely there was somebody behind that door. Surely there was someone in the room behind
Yeah.
it that noticed that.
Like, someone would have seen
Anybody,
it.
like, heard the garage door or something, but,
No, apparently
No.
not, because everyone's listening to Randy's chat about the horror rules. And that's where Gail and her reporter are out in the van.
Yeah.
And they actually go into the part. Well, Gail does with Dewey.
Yes.
And she pops the recorder in.
Yep. This is
The video
this is really
recorder.
cool because the cameraman who's setting it up back into the van out the front of the house, and they're like almost immediately like, oh, there's going to be that 30-second delay. And she's like, shit. And, like, as soon as you're like, there's going to be that 30-second delay, like, oh, yeah, this is... something's
shit's
cool
going down.
is going to happen with this delay. And, yeah, it does.
And it's really, And so they leave the party, right? And this is where, like, the story absolutely unravels completely. And, I don't know where Dewey is at this point. He's, like, gone... He said he's gone to check out some car with Gail.
Yes.
So they're not actually at the scene, like, back at the van.
Yep. So
And
it's
so-
reported that it's Sydney's dad's car. Or they find
okay.
out that it's Sydney's dad's car when they get there, and it's like, holy shit.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that bit in my rewatch because I don't remember hearing
And then-
that. But yeah, that
And
makes
then it's
sense.
throwing up even more like, holy shit, is it Sydney's dad or what the hell?
Is it a dad?
Because he never checked in at the hotel he was supposed to or something.
Yeah, because they're trying to track him down to see if he is, the perpetrator of all of
Yep.
this. And so, then... So they've got the recorder in there. Then, Ghostface comes in. Because everybody's gone.
Yeah.
Nobody's at the party
Yeah, they
anymore.
leave the party because they hear from somebody that the principal is he's been like Principal Himbry's been erected onto like one of the football posts. He's like hanging off that.
shit.
So everybody's like drunk and they like get in their car and
Let's go
let's go have a look, and they all like race off, and that's actually how Gail and Dewey find Sydney's dad's car. Is like they dodge getting hit by the cars and they roll down this hill and then like, holy shit, there's the car.
This is Sydney's dad's
This is
car.
really funny,
Yeah.
like the really endearing moment when they're on top of each other. Like, have you ever seen something so beautiful or whatever? And like, have you seen something crazy? And she's like, not in my entire life. But she's like, oh, no, that's nice. No, look, there's the car in front of him. Like this little sweet, tender moment. But Gail's actually
Aw.
referencing the car that they found. It's so funny.
Poor Dewey, he was trying to
Yeah.
be so nice. Shut the shit down.
Yeah, so poor Randy's the only person there sitting on the couch watching Halloween of all movies.
Yeah. Because he's like, don't go there. Don't go behind the door.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling at
Turn
her.
around, Jamie. Turn around, Jamie.
He's
Don't
so
do
drunk
it.
screaming.
Don't turn around, Jamie. He's behind you. At the same time, Ghostface is behind him.
Yes! And it's so good, that scene. Because you're just like, turn
Even more
around.
great self-awareness from the franchise.
And at this time, the cameraman is watching the 30-second delay.
Yes. Yes.
And so, but in this time, I don't know how it happens because I remember that. I'm trying to remember, like, because this just went all really quickly for me,
Yep.
this bit, where Billy is stabbed by Ghostface.
Okay, so this happens after. So what happens is he's watching the 30-second delay. He's like, holy shit, I need to open the door and kind of warn Randy, or this kid. He probably doesn't know Randy's name at this point.
Yeah.
But when he opens the door, he's like, the delay, and the door's open, and he looks back on the camera, and it shows Ghostface, like, peering off, and he doesn't stab or kill Randy. He kind of disappears off, and then that's when the cameraman gets his throat slit, and he gets stabbed and killed, and he kind of pops back up later when Sydney gets chased on the exit outside, because Randy gets stabbed as well. I think he gets stabbed. I can't remember where he gets stabbed in the arm. Oh, in the leg or in the arm or whatever. And then, then Sydney's she's getting, chased around, and she's trying to escape. Or is it Gail? Oh my god, I've lost it.
No, it's Sydney.
She's running around, and she's got, she's trying to escape through the cameraman, and the body falls down. The Gail crashes the car.
And then she's like, she gets out the back of the van.
Yeah, and this is a really cool scene where she gets in the car, and she's locking all the doors, and Ghostface is like, got the keys on the outside, and he ducks down.
Yeah.
And he's opening the door, and she's reaching over and closing it, and then it's being on the other side, and all this stuff. And then you see in the back, like it's like a sedan or like a wagon, the back of, it might be the police car, actually. Can't remember. It's been like 3-4 years since I see this. And then the back of the door opens up, and he like comes through the back, and oh my god, and it's full on.
It's just like, get out of the car.
Yeah.
I found myself like yelling at my TV watching this movie, and I love it because it has those amazing tropes, and it does it well. It's not a cliche way that it is, but it's done fantastically. And so then she's run back into the house at this stage, hasn't she? And she's cornered in the kitchen by Stu and Billy. Yeah.
So at this point, like, because Sydney was upstairs with Billy, and they just had sex, and that's when Ghostface comes in and actually stabs quotation marks Billy, and that's when Sydney ran down
and then the chase happens.
Then the whole chase happens. That's how she ended up outside, and the cameraman gets fucked up, and all that stuff happens. So at this point, you think Billy's like done and dusted, but then later on,
I was just like, oh shit, he's dead.
She comes in, and it's this like Randy screaming, it wasn't me, it was him, it was him, and they get locked in, and then it's the corn syrup, and he does that awesome line from Anthony Perkins from Psycho. He kind of quotes, we all go a little mad sometimes.
Yeah.
And he has like, because of his hair and the way he like starts his gaze from down and looking up and tasting the thing, he looks so like evil. And it's...
Yeah, and he's like, it was corn syrup.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite like quote line of the whole thing. And in how it's
really
delivered.
Cool.
And another reference.
And this is... and another amazing horror movie reference. And this is a bit where like my mind was freaking blown. Absolutely blown.
Yep.
Because obviously I'd seen Scary Movie first, so in my head, I think Officer Dewey is the murderer. So I'm waiting this whole time, like I'm watching him hawk-eyed. I'm like, it's him. He's the murderer. He's the murderer. How are we going to find out? And then we find out that it's Billy and Stu.
Yep.
And that Billy had actually murdered Sydney's mum the year before.
Yep.
Because her mum had an affair with his dad. And that's why the mum left. Or was it? Is that... Yeah, Billy's mum left because of the affair.
Yes.
It didn't happen a year ago. The affair had happened.
Yes, that's right.
And, quite some time. But Billy had only just found out about it.
And that's why they actually framed Cotton.
Yes, yeah. So they're, and it's this scene, they're like hurting one another, aren't they? And they're like, this is how you do it. Yeah,
they basically explain like why they did it, and big exposition revealed, and like, then let's stab each other, and we'll kind of frame it on
like...
Sydney's dad or whatever, who'd been duct taped into the... He's been in their wardrobe or whatever. And then, obviously, Billy, who's a bit of a fucking nut, obviously stabs Stu too deep, which is like the reference or the quote that I said before about, and he's kind of aloof goofiness. Like, oh, my mom's going to kill me. Like, they're going to forget that you're a serial killer psychopath running around stabbing people, and they're going to be real upset about how fucked up the house is. Like,
yeah. I thought it was like reference to him getting stabbed, like his parents will be upset that he got stabbed. I forgot that he like threw a massive party at the house. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'd be pretty pissed if my kid got stabbed too. Yeah, sure. like I said, sometimes I don't think bigger picture. And I'm just like, why would you get angry about that? That's weird. And so I love this scene because just the real how they play off one another, and it's just like whose idea was this? Like, this is insane. And Sydney's just like, what the fuck? Can I go now? Like, can I leave and you two just stab one another? And I'm gonna see myself out. Bye. Like, what the fuck? And she actually ends up with a gun, doesn't she? She has a gun.
Yeah, it was the gun before, but she'd handed that to Billy, and then Billy shot either Randy or Dewey, I think. Dewey got stabbed in the back, and he shot Randy. But this, from here out, when they're arguing about who he's getting stabbed, Sydney, I think she kind of escapes or leaves, and she ends up with the ghost mask and the kind of the voice changer at the same time, because that's in the same scene. And then she's calling Randy, and then it's her time to kind of turn the tables on and say, you're all going to go to prison or whatever. The police are on the way and all that shit. And then, she kind of busts out, and this kind of like fight scene ensues, and Stu gets hammered with the TV, which is just awesome. Awesome death.
That bit I was like, what?
So it's totally messed up.
Body slam with the TV. Yep. His body would just crumble under that. Because he's the guy who actually, he played Shaggy, didn't he? In
Scooby-Doo.
In Scooby-Doo. And I loved him.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So it's so weird seeing, him in this kid's movie after he played like a psychopath. Yeah,
Matthew Lillard.
Serial killer. I was like, wow. That's a big jump, isn't it?
And then, what happens after that? And then Billy obviously gets blown away, finally. But this, once again, another trope of the series, and in particular with horror films, it's Randy, like they're all kind of standing over the body, and Randy goes, isn't this the part of the movie where the supposedly dead killer comes back for one last scare? And Randy kind of pops up, and then they like blow, like, I think it's Gale that point blank shoots him in between the eyes.
Yeah, point blank in the head. And I was like, whoa, no shot, Gale. And that's why I was like, I do like her.
Yeah, she's badass.
Really like, she's really frustrating, but she's really, like, she's an awesome character.
And the same thing happens in 2. Like, isn't this the part where they always come back? And then we get another person running out. And instead it's like Gale and Sydney in tandem with guns just...
Okay. Yeah. You got me.
I won't spoil who the killer is, obviously. So...
I'm just really funny about like sequels to horror movies because the Saw series is probably one of my favorite. But the first 2 are amazing, and then 3 just that's where it took a.
It got really complex in Saw, and they kind of like tried to retcon things and have this like massive complex web of.
And it was just like, it doesn't need that.
And these time frames, like, this movie happened at the same time as this. And I know that happens with 2 and 1, but it just got a lot complex the later on it went, and it was the police officer takes her from Jigsaw. I was like, what is all this shit?
Yeah, but 1 and 2 were written by the Australian brothers, and then they sold off the rights.
Yeah, they went to, like, University of Melbourne, I think. That was the guy that was in it as well. So it was James Wan, and then the other Australian guy that's in it. It's Lee Warnell, I think it is. He did The Invisible Man this year.
I think so. Oh, I really want to watch that.
I can't remember if he's Victorian or he's from Tasmania.
No, I'm pretty sure they're Victorian.
Yeah, but
Yeah, because I remember looking it up when I first found out they were Australian, and I was like, of course they're Australian. How fucked up that movie
is.
And then,
James Wan went on to do like all the Conjuring series and stuff like that. So,
man. And those movies are great as well. They terrify me. Ghost movies scare the shit out of me. Like you said with Scream, it's this could be real. For me, paranormal movies, I'm like, this could be.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers played with that Ouija board. You're gonna get you're gonna get what's coming. You touched it. You opened that portal. Things that aren't backed up by science, I'll be like, that's gonna happen. Yep. You're done for. Good one. So yeah, obviously. So at the end of the movie, we find out Billy and Stu were the killers, and the dad has been locked up in a fucking cupboard all this time. I wonder how he'd be so hungry. Thirsty, maybe? I wonder if they fed him.
I don't know. I'm sure he has a whole lot of other emotions going through his head. On the 1 year anniversary of his wife's death, being kidnapped, I'm sure he's not really worried about all that other stuff.
Worrying that his daughter might be dead. He's like, I could really use a cheeseburger right now.
Are they going to feed me? What about Sydney? Is she alright? Like, is she still going to school? Who's going to put money into her college fund? Will she even go to college if I'm not there?
Just give me a cheeseburger or I'm going to die.
Those are all the things that are going through his head.
Cheeseburgers and nuggies.
That's right.
That's what he's worried about. And KFC nuggets? Not McDonald's.
KFC nuggets are the best, actually.
They're the best.
They're overpriced, though,
hands
but
down.
I think they've got a pretty sweet deal now that McDonald's have put pressure on them with the 24 for 10.
Oh, God. Wouldn't you throw up eating that many nuggets?
No, because I have ate that many nuggets in the past, so...
And didn't vomit.
That's right.
Nice.
I am the real horror legend. That's the real horror story.
I'd throw up everywhere. Yeah, so...
So what did you think of
That's,
Scream? I've seen Scream a million times, and I love it. I've said it's my top 5. What did you make of it?
I really enjoy it because I love a good slasher movie. And the thing is, like, I love gory movies if it's done right. Like, if you give me a gory movie and it's just blood for the sake of blood and, over-the-top deaths for the sake of over-the-top deaths, like, I'll just be like, I'll be so off it. I'll just be like, no. Even though I love exploitation films because they're there for the gore, you know? And, like, Eli Roth did such an amazing job with Hostel that, I can't even fault him for any of that. And so when I watch, this late 90s horror film where all of the blood and, like, nothing was done for the sake of doing it. If it didn't need blood, it didn't have blood.
Yep.
And, like, with Tatum's death.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was so brutal, but there was no need for blood. So there was no blood.
It's kind of...
her mouth might have bled or something.
Yeah,
but...
and it's kind of hallmark of the Scream franchise, I think, because there's a particular death in number 1 where instead of stabbing someone, he's just kind of in a position where he just throws someone off a balcony or whatever. It's like he's just in that moment, like whatever the time calls for, that's what it is, and it didn't need this excessive, like you said, blood and gore for the sake of it.
Yeah, and I think that I really give credit to Wes Craven for that. I think because he's done so many amazing films where there hasn't been gruesome deaths. It's more the psychological impact, and I feel like Scream is one of those movies where it is psychological as well. Like all the mind games and, could it be you? Could it be you? Is it you? And that we're on that journey as well because, like, everyone's a suspect. Who is it? And there's always that one point in the film where you're made to think that maybe it's Tatum. Maybe it's Randy. Maybe it's Dewey. Maybe it's Cindy's dad. And, and you're on this, like, who could it possibly be? Who is it? And I think that part of it I really loved that part.
Yes. And
as a final girl, because every horror movie has a final girl, depending what you watch. And I think I actually listened to a podcast called The Final Girl. And it's all of the actresses who have played
that's
final
really
girls talking about the movies that they've been in. And it's freaking cool podcast. It's all women. It's just amazing. Like all women in horror.
Great. Listen.
Yeah. And so her as a final girl is amazing because she is just this typical teenager who's going through a rough time, who, you know, isn't popular, but she isn't, you know, bullied or the nerd or, you know, and she's like, should I lose my virginity and should I do that? And it's like all these things that most 15 and 16-year-olds would have been thinking watching that movie when it came out and trying to find, you know, that relativity with her as a, you know, like, oh, she made it out of this. You know, maybe it's such a bigger picture than that. You know, like, you think about it and be like, well, Sydney made it out.
Yeah.
Me next.
And even, like, from the other perspective, like, she's from a single-parent home as well. And I'm not saying that every, you know, it's supposed to be immediately identifiable to someone that's, you know, had a parent killed or died off or anything, but even just as like broken homes or, you know, where there's a separation that's occurred.
Adversity.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe there are other people that could have identified with that part of her as a character.
Yeah.
Like it's a less traditional, you know, her family's together type thing.
Yeah.
So add another layer
and I feel
to
like they all were really not very traditional characters.
Sorry?
But even though they weren't very traditional characters in the sense of the horror film either, in their actual horror movie spot, you know, like you have the jock and you have the popular girl and you have the slut and you have the stoner and I don't know what the others are, the nerd.
I guess Randy was really the one that kind of really fell into that kind of stereotype because he was the nerd or the guy, but like with how aware and meta the movie is and self-aware it is, they needed a character like that was kind of like the horror expert in the horror movie.
Yeah, I think that was, I just really loved the love that they gave to other movies in the genre. Like as if they were closing off that decade of horror.
Yeah,
and being like, these are all the cool movies that made up the last 10 years of horror.
And it's so funny because Scream has been really identified as the film or the horror movie that revitalized the slasher genre and repopularized it.
Yeah.
Horror was kind of in a slump in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. We kind of got out of all the 80s, like slashers and your kind of iconic horror villains and figures. And then, Scream kind of was attributed to revitalizing that. And then we get, you know, I know what you did last summer and Jeepers Creepers and all this kind of stuff that urban legend all kind of pop up around that.
Urban Legend's probably in my top.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah, I freaking love that movie.
All that kind of stuff pops around up at the same time, and you know,
and then all the Final Destination.
Final Destination,
movies.
Yes, you get like
so good.
You Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt, and it was just awesome.
Yeah,
and I
Jeepers Creepers was so good.
I loved that, and that really, like when I said earlier on that this was like the turning point for me in like as horror as something that I loved. Then when I first saw it, when my pop hired it from the movie store, was like I immediately identified like cool slashers, chase movies. This is my type of horror that I love.
I'm a slasher person as well.
Yeah.
I could sit and watch slashers all day and be like, this is fun.
And even the revitalization of Halloween, H2O, with Harnett. Good old Harnett.
I'll be talking to Zach about Halloween H2O. That was his first horror movie. I was like, really?
Wow, cool. Can't wait.
What a weird choice.
Can't wait to hear that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I've got a couple of really cool ones coming up. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a couple of American guests as well that are massive horror fans. Cool. So I'm really, really, really excited. And should be really cool to get this launched. Excited. And out there and just hear people talk shit about horror movies.
It's the best.
So I normally wrap up the podcast by asking my guests, what is the last horror movie that you watched and would you recommend it?
Wow, last horror movie that I watched. That's interesting. I can't even think of the last horror movie that I watched actually. Oh my goodness, this is a tough one. I think I can't even class it as a horror. I guess today it would be one, maybe Jewel Is it classed as a horror movie?
What
It's
is it?
called Jewel. It's Steven Spielberg's directorial debut. It's from 1971. It's about this businessman who's driving down the highway, and he is like trying to get to somewhere, and he overtakes this truck, and it like kind of overtakes him again, and for some reason this truck is kind of have it in with him, and it kind of road rages, and it stalks him along the highway.
Oh, that sounds a bit
Yeah,
scary.
it is. It is. It's super tense, super scary. I gave it 5 stars on my Letterboxd review today. It's probably
Awesome.
one of the best hidden gems that I've seen. And just heard that it was Spielberg's debut. I thought, I better check this out. And it sounded like the type of movie that I love, being like this chase movie. And it was fantastic. So I would definitely recommend that. Outside of that, the last one that I watched was on the 16th of June. That would have been Near Dark, in preparation for a certain
for
vampire
talking
discussion.
about
Yes, that will come
Yeah,
soon.
certain little vamp discussion. I actually did watch
Yeah.
that because we talked
Yes.
about it, and I was just like, that was a weird movie.
It
but
was
I
weird,
liked it.
yeah. It was definitely weird, but I really liked it, and I hadn't seen that before, and I hadn't seen the reversal of vampirism before in movies, or I hadn't really
Yeah.
remembered it.
There's not a lot, is there?
So
I don't. There's that and Daywalker. Was it Daywalker?
Daybreakers,
Daybreakers.
the Australian
Where they
one.
did the
was that
reversal.
Australian? Yeah,
Yeah, it was Australian, but it had Ethan
that's
Hawke
right.
in it.
Yes, I saw
Yeah.
them in the movies.
The last one I watched was today. I finally watched Get Out.
Oh, what did you think of Get Out? Did you like it?
I loved it. It was so messed
Yeah.
up, and I love Jordan Peele. I'm a massive fan of his comedy series and the series he did on the Twilight Zone.
I haven't seen Twilight Zone yet. Is that
And-
good? Okay.
It's really good. I've watched like maybe 3 or 4 episodes. It's really interesting. And I just like him in general, like just he's very well spoken and very intelligent and always has a lot to say, and he's redoing Candyman. He's doing
Yeah, 'cause he's
it's-
done the screenplay, but who's directing that? Nia DaCosta.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
really?
not sure. I've not really heard of much of what she's done before, but I think this is. I can't remember if it's her debut or not. But another female director of horror, a la like Jennifer
Excellent.
Kent, who's done just Babadook and Nightingale.
Nightingale, yeah. The Shoshka
Yeah.
sisters, who just did a remake of Wes Craven's Rabbit.
It's even funny. Like speaking of,
Oh no, David Cronenberg. Sorry, David
and
Cronenberg's.
for her to be doing Candyman, we were just speaking about Near Dark. That was Catherine Bigelow, wasn't it?
I'm not too sure. I'm really funny when it comes to directors and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I'm still learning my. Like I have my people that are close to my heart.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
definitely.
Eli Roth and the Shoshka
Yeah,
sisters.
Catherine Bigelow.
And,
There you go.
Yeah. Fantastic. But yeah, you should definitely get onto that podcast if you're interested about more
I
women
will.
in horror.
I will definitely.
And also February is Women in Horror Month. So it's always a good time to be watching
I'll chuck down an Excel spreadsheet and I'll like map it out so I can.
and be like,
I'm watching this,
all of
this, and this, and this, and this.
There's actually quite a couple that you wouldn't know are directed by women.
Yeah.
So, and you'll be like, what? I didn't even know that.
Keen to check it out.
It'll be a I was today years old when I learned this.
Maybe with everything that's happening in the world today or now, I'll bring February forward by a few months.
Yeah, just do it because a lot of them are
Yeah.
really fantastic movies. All right, so I'm gonna I don't have an outro either. It's just thanks for coming in and talking about Scream.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Anytime anyone wants to speak about Scream, I will happily do it. Like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. So
Yeah, so give yourself a plug. Tell people where they can find you and your
you can find me on Twitter at BuddyWatson12 or at Radio Watson _ Radio Watson can be found on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and all those fun places. It's basically my podcast where I'm speaking about movies, music, games, wrestling, sports, pretty much you name it, it'll be on there. It's kind of a little bit of a passion project. I don't really release weekly or fortnightly or anything like that. Just when I want to speak about something or there's a certain guest that I want to speak to and have a chat about and there's something they want to, go through, then yeah, we'll do it. I've done stuff on Linkin Park, 30 Seconds to Mars, The Last of Us 2, a little bit of wrestling here and there. I'm doing one on Ryan Johnson's discography. I'm not sure if that's out by now or coming soon, depending on the release of
We'll
this.
see how I go with
and
this.
of course, we've got one planned as well with
I'm really looking
vampire
forward to
flicks, which will be fun.
My favourite.
Yes.
Besides horror, obviously.
Yes, it's one of those like sub-horror genres, and as far as like, you know, your universal monsters, the vampires, I love vampires.
Me too. I don't know what else to think about vampires.
When I was younger, I wanted to be a vampire, so yeah.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to be in the Addams Family.
You wanted to be in the Addams Family? As who? Where's what? Like just with them?
I don't care.
Yes,
Me,
you with
just
them.
me, Catherine Adams. Take me, get me out of here.